Good afternoon. The Community Development, Housing, General Government Committee meeting will come to order today. We are excited. I think Council Best is somewhere in the building, I think. I'm not sure. His laptop is there. We have 3 general items on the agenda, and we have 4 consent items as well. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent agenda? If not, may I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
It's been moved and properly seconded, and everybody votes. Thank you. Will the secretary please call the first agenda item?
G1, 2018-2019 College Advisory Board Annual Report.
Hi, I'm the first time out in newsletter from the College Advisory Board.
All right.
She's so bubbly. I like that.
Thank you, Brain.
Thank you.
Yeah. Of course.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to officially introduce to you Ms. Nina Walker. She is the president of the current College Advisory Board. She is a senior at UNC School of the Arts, and she has been on CAB now for a couple of years, and she has done a really good job leading them. And so she will be actually doing today's presentation.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I know Wanda just gave a little spiel. Yeah, I'm a student at UNC School of the Arts. Have had the pleasure of serving on CAB for the past couple of years. I know you all received our annual report. CAB this year has been focused on doing a lot of community outreach as well as outreach on each campus. We did a lot of focus on connecting the campuses together and focusing on how we can support each other as on campuses. We did a lot of work together on supporting the community as well as high school. So we did a lot of work at the high school race relations forum. We did the Martin Luther King prayer breakfast. We went to an annual award banquet. We have done a lot of work on supporting the community as well as reaching out to the community and seeing how we can benefit most from the people in our community. Our annual project this year was the Collegiate Trust Talks. This year's project, we structured our project a little differently. We let the students impact or pick what the topic was upon arrival for us. So our main topic this year at our Collegiate Trust Talks was race relations. And we had a very successful Collegiate Trust Talks. We had over 80 participants, students, staff from each school, as well as police chiefs, as well as just police in general. Have gotten some great feedback from students, staff, and police about the Collegiate Trust Talks, and from that have started doing different things on campuses regarding student and police safety, as well as student and police relationships. I know my school in particular has started to do some annual meetings with their police and their students and kind of bridging the gap between the two, and we're hoping to continue that in the future. Other than that, we have been working alongside Wanda and Jamie to create kind of what we want to see CAB do next year. So that is to continue kind of what we've been doing and outreaching the community, as well as honing in on how to help and support ourselves in the like public relation fashion. So kind of getting out there and making sure people know who the members of CAB are, as well as getting students on campus to better support CAB and figuring out how we do that. So yeah.
Any more comments, Dr. Abraham? Where did she go?
Hiding. She hid.
Oh, yeah.
She's hiding.
Yeah.
She's hiding.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about this important group?
And I agree, this is a very important group.
It's the future.
It is, absolutely. And they're very enthusiastic about the future, which is very encouraging. And one of the things that they're wanting to do is to try to figure out how to get college students more involved and engaged with municipal government. And so I know that we had a couple of challenges this year with having representation from Salem College. You may notice that in the annual report, and as well with Wake Forest University. And so we're hoping to address that, because this is the first year that that has ever been an issue with CAB. But students from UNC School of the Arts, Winston-Salem State University, and Forsyth Tech really stepped up to the plate, and they were able to carry the board through the year. And so that's an ongoing challenge, because they have different schedules. Sometimes there are internal things going on the individual campuses that kind of take away the students' attention. And so hopefully we'll overcome those for the College Advisory Board next year.
When you were talking about your trust talks, I think that's very important, particularly with public safety. Winston-Salem is considered a college town or a university town by the National League of Cities, the national organization that we belong to, along with thousands of other cities. Because of the amount of college/universities we have in the city. And when we go to these meetings, and Councilman McIntosh isn't here, but he can attest, and we're in the meetings, everybody else's stories kind of make your hair stand up on the back of your neck. Mm-hmm. But when we talk about Winston-Salem, don't get me wrong, we're not perfect. But when we tell our story, which I'm the liaison for that auxiliary to the national for the other elected officials in the country, they go like, what is it that you guys are doing? How are you doing this? We tell them, they have the minutes and notes, and thanks to Zena Johnson, my assistant, for making sure that my minutes and everything are always up to date about what we're doing to be engaged with our colleges and universities and schools in the city when it comes to municipal government. If you need anyone or some contacts for Wake and Salem, I have some great contacts that I'm sure would be willing to go out on a limb to help get some folks involved, because every time I'm over there, it's a house full. So I think I can help you with that. I'm sure any of the other council members can too. You have the rest of some other members here as well, the council, the advisory board?
We do not have any other college advisory board members here today. Taylor's walking in. I was going to say, unfortunately, we have a lot of busy schedules right now at the end of the year. But Taylor's walking in. Taylor, you want to give a wave? Yeah, so Taylor, and she's from WSSU.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Taylor, you want to say a couple of words?
Absolutely.
Represent.
Okay, I will. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor and a privilege to be here. Please excuse my tardiness. I just got out of class, but
Your name and where you live.
Yes.
basically.
My name is Taylor Walker. I am a student, a junior mass communications major, speech minor at Winston-Salem State University. I'm originally from Durham, North Carolina, but as a junior, I've been in the city of Winston-Salem for 3 years, and I've enjoyed myself greatly. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what it's mean to me as a RAM and a Winston-Salem State student to serve on the board. I think it is a unique experience, not only to represent my university, but have a chance to have a seat at the table with individuals like yourself. So being a part of a council member in the board here, for me, has given myself and my university an opportunity to put some insights and some inputs in some of the things we would like to see in the city and some of the things we want or would love to be a part of when the city needs things from us. In addition to that, I've had a chance to collaborate with individuals from all different campuses that I probably wouldn't have had a chance to interact with. We've had time to do community projects. I'm pretty sure you talked about the Collegiate Trust Talks, but I think that was one of my favorite events because I had a chance to talk with administration, students, and officers from all campuses about some of the issues they were dealing with and what we can do together collectively to combat them. And so I think that's just a little bit of my experience. Thank you again for the opportunity, and I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah.
Anything from the council?
I think.
Comments?
No.
All right.
What's
Thank
the question?
Oh, Councilmember Larson.
Yes, I noticed that you made some recommendations to City Council, and one of them was to enlarge the membership on the council. And I think you was asking for 4 members from each university.
That is correct, yes.
Is that a City Council action, or does the council need to get a proposal on that of some sort? Yeah.
Yeah, we can pass that on to the
To-
mayor.
To proceed with that.
That means just a rewrite.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That would be, it sounds to me like a useful,
Yeah.
to sort of ramp up the program a little bit.
Yes, that would definitely help us in getting some numbers.
And thank you, just as, I'm not on this committee, so I can't vote on anything, but I want to thank you for acting as a liaison to the universities and to the city, providing good counsel and activity. You are the future of the city. I hope those who come from Durham will decide to stay in our city and take up residency permanently. I'm glad that you're here and what you're doing, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
G2, 2018-2019 Youth Advisory Council Annual Report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And members of council, we do have members from the Youth Advisory Council here in the audience, and they have decided that they wanted to share the responsibility of reporting to you what they have been doing this year. And so Mark Bertoni is handing out newsletters to you. He is the current chair of the Youth Advisory Council, and he's joined by others, and I will allow them to self-introduce.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hunter Dameworth. I am a senior at Calvary Day School. And I first off just want to give an introduction of what the Youth Advisory Council has meant to all of us and what the goals have been for it. The Winston-Salem Youth Advisory Council serves to represent the youth of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County before the government of Winston-Salem. The council acts as an avenue to express the interests and concerns of youth. Furthermore, the Youth Advisory Council, or YAC as we call it, serves to create interest in civic activism and the inner workings of government. As a group, YAC also promotes leadership positions and experience for high school students through providing members the opportunity to lead projects and events. This prepares students for future careers which may include government positions someday. The Youth Advisory Council provides a voice for the next generation of leaders and citizens.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Portia Smith. I am a sophomore from Winston-Salem Preparatory Academy. I would just like to speak on some of the community involvement projects we have taken part in this year as of 2019. And 2018. In January 2019, some of us that are here today participated in the State Youth Conference in Raleigh, which consisted of leadership and team building conference works. And so basically when you're in Raleigh for the conference, you meet people from all over that are our ages, from youth advisory councils, and pretty much we work to understand the problems in our communities, what we could do better to assist the youth. So that is something I gladly took part of. We also participate in the MLK breakfast on January 21st of this year. And that was a very educational experience for some. We learned a whole lot about what MLK means to our community specifically, and how we could, as youth, learn about leadership opportunities and things of that nature. For March of the homeless children, we participated in the annual JC Holiday Parade on December 1st, 2018. And that was a part for us to put ourselves in the shoes of homeless children, to understand that, they're not alone, and that there is someone potentially that can help them. And that speaks a whole lot for us to help others to understand their situations and help us to understand poverty in Winston-Salem. Our last events include 2 city council meetings. They were both on December 3rd and March 4th of 2018 and 2019. And those meetings were primarily for us to represent the youth and to understand city council and where we're sitting at as a Winston-Salem community. And that's just a few of our community involvement works. And as I said, it's been a privilege to serve for the Winston-Salem Youth Advisory Council and a privilege to represent our youth and understand what we need in our communities.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Brooke. I am a freshman representative of Paisley Ivy Magnet, and Youth Advisory Council has really affected me in ways I didn't really think it would. When I was sent the invitation for it, I was thinking, oh, what's this going to be like? It was just a really cool experience and something I really enjoyed being a part of. We have gotten a lot of volunteer opportunities this year, including, most of them were earlier this year. We participated in the International Village. I'm not sure if you guys probably heard of that. We were part of that. We also were part of the Trail of Treats that was at Bolton Park last year. We also did the Human Relations Student Awards Banquet. That was on February 28th, and that was recognizing students such as Portia, who did wonderful things in our community and just done a really good job. And also the Race and Relations Forum was earlier this year, as Nina said. Hi. Yeah, that was also one of our opportunities. And these have really gotten me, I feel like each of these opportunities, especially the Trail of Treats in the International Village, I feel like those really helped me become more closer to my community, because I really enjoy volunteering, so I think it's just really cool to be part of this council that allows me to volunteer more. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Bertoni. I'm a senior at Parkland, and I'm also the chairman of Winston-Salem Youth Advisory Council. I want to thank my members for giving snapshots into what we have accomplished and done over the past year in YAC. And I'd also like to talk about our annual project, which is a project that we decide to take on that it targets 2 things: the community and specifically the youth in community, especially children and teenagers. So this year we have partnered up with the Mayor's Think Orange campaign in order to create PSA announcements that specifically alert and target teens to food disparity and the availability of food here in Winston-Salem. Today, in fact, myself, Joshua Keels, who's there at the end, and Portia Smith attended the Mayor's Roundtable on Hunger, and Joshua and I also attended the one held earlier in the year. As of right now, we have developed our 3 PSAs and are in the process of filming and staging them, looking forward to releasing them come around May or June. Sure. So we have 3 PSAs, as I may have mentioned. One specifically for elementary, one for middle, and one for high school. The one in elementary is the less complicated one out of the 3, which basically alerts children to the availability of food in their cafeteria, including the possibility of free and reduced lunch. The middle school PSA currently targets the availability of food outside of school, including the summer feeding programs hosted by Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools and other opportunities such as Second Harvest Food Bank and the Hope Truck. And the third PSA, the high school one, further develops on this idea and is a little bit more complex in what it addresses towards the people who are viewing it. We also, for our other two PSAs, middle school and high school, plan on using Winston-Salem pop culture icons, as we in YAC refer to them, including the Winston-Salem Dash mascot, Bolt, for our middle school one, and local celebrity David Daggett in the high school one, who is familiar with high school students especially as the promoter of the Safe and Sober Prom Nights. So we felt that these two people could really help provide our message to those age groups. Are there any questions?
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Councilmember Sibley.
I was just curious, who receives your newsletter? Where is it distributed?
So our newsletter is printed out physically and distributed among members, but it is also available through the Youth Advisory Council section on the Human Relations Department website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
As Mark was saying, and the council, their newsletter has lots of orange on it. And it's because of today we had our second summit, the Mayor's Roundtable for Hunger, along with a large contingency of organizations, the Food Bank, Hope, the school system, Lowe's, Food Lion, and the list goes on, about childhood hunger in the city and the county. Now the focus is not just childhood. The focus is just about everybody. It's children, adults, special populations, elderly, and so forth. As what happened today was, one of the things that transpired was Lowe's presented a check for $90,000 towards helping the initiative of getting out what we're trying to do. I think we all understand at this point that if we're not able to eradicate and fix that problem, then all the other problems, they're just not going to happen to get fixed either, whether that's the poverty thought force and the pathway to a quality of life. So the young folks, as I call my young folks, they've been at both, and as you can see, they're very involved with this initiative. And I'm going to go ahead and put a shameless plug in here. We are now trying to raise $500,000 to sustain this program with the city and the county. So you can go on our website, you can look up Think Orange, and Regina, where's Regina? She left. Regina also is a park coordinator of that, and Tiffany of the city. But you can give money, you can have fundraisers, you can help us, because part of receiving the CHAMP grant from the National League of Cities was we would be able to raise the money to keep this sustainable in order that we could solve some of these problems with some positive results. So again, I want to thank the Youth Council, Advisory Council, as well as the College Council. Thank you guys. You know, we always like to see you come by and visit us. And they just don't visit for this. They come to council meetings. They do all of that. Councilmember Bessie.
I just had a thought. I don't know if this would be a secondary project that either the college or youth advisory group might be interested in, but I like to send out information to my constituents, advising them of events that's taking place in association with city government departments. And sometimes it's hard to find updated links on the city's website, including Human Relations, which does a lot of good work that is not always known everywhere in the community. I hate to deal in stereotypes, but young folks are supposed to be good with the electronics and the social media. Perhaps you could undertake to help keep that information more current on the city's website.
Thank you, Councilmember Bessie. A couple of requests that we've had, both from the Youth Council and the College Advisory Board, has been as to whether or not they can have their own Twitter or Facebook accounts. And so I don't know how practical that would be in terms of how we manage things here internally, but they have asked for that for a couple of years now. So that's something that they have enthusiastically said they would support and keep updated, because really what we have to rely on is the city's Facebook page, and of course we have our website when it comes to digital media.
Thank you. I think that's a thought that city manager, city attorney, and others can look at, see if there are other cities that have already done this, and if not, why not? Okay? Again, thank you so much, all of you, for coming by to visit. We know you got busy schedules. You don't have to hang out here with us if you don't want to, but thank you anyway. The Secretary, next item, please.
G3, Resolution Establishing an African American Heritage Action Initiative Committee.
Good afternoon, Mayor Joines, Chair Adams, committee, and council members. In February, Councilmember Scipio presented the concept of the African American Heritage Action Initiative Committee. It was further discussed at the strategic planning workshop later that month. If approved, the action before you today will create the African American Heritage Initiative Committee. The 9-member committee will strive to connect all sectors of the African American community and create a vision for incorporating African American contributions to the ongoing history of the city. The committee is set to meet quarterly and would be supported by our Human Relations Department. I'm happy to speak further to it, as well as Councilmember Scipio.
This is the initiative of Councilmember Scipio, and so I will recognize her for any comments that she'd like to make.
Thank you very much. I won't be long in my comments. I will say that with this initiative, the goal is to validate and give great respect to many of the African American residents who have lived here, as well as to instill with our young people a sense of pride, because they will know what happened here and who did it and how it was. We believe, at least I believe, there will be a new hope, a spirit of hope, a spirit of possibilities, because if you don't know your history, you really don't know what might be for you. So with this initiative, with this goal to collect oral histories throughout the city, I believe we can say, we want young people to say, wow, they did. I can, and we will as a city. This initiative is not just for African Americans to grow and learn, but it is for our whole city to be amazed at what happened here and many of the positive things that happened that we haven't celebrated.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councilmember Clark.
Just a minor one. I think it's a good program. Under the duties and responsibilities, and this may be implied there, but I would like to see the committee also catalog what's out there already. I believe the library has had a oral history program, and I would suspect a number of churches may not have so much recordings, but may have literature, pictures, things of that sort. So I would suggest we make a listing of what's there in a very broad sense.
This committee would strive to do that. They would bring all the local organizations, from churches to libraries, nonprofits throughout our community, and see what stories they can bring to the table as far as oral stories, any relics, collections that already exist, anything of that matter.
And right after we talked about this last time, after we left, I remembered, and I've already forgot what the national program is, where the Smithsonian sponsored it, but they record folks.
The living history.
No. Anyway, whatever it's called.
Oral history program.
We have done it at our church because we had some older parishioners, particularly, for example, World War II veterans, that if we did not record their oral history now, it was going to be lost very quickly.
Yes, sir.
And I'm hopeful that the library has done some, and I'd certainly encourage that we do that. I lament the fact that my children never had the opportunity to speak with either one of their grandfathers who both served in World War II to get a feel, as you described, Granddad, what was it really like? But they both passed away before my children got here. So, and unfortunately, they were not reported. So I encourage you to do that and do a complete job at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any,
StoryCorps, there we go. See?
yeah, any other comments, questions? Councilmember Larson.
Yeah, I'd just like to compliment CPO for trying to pull together. We know that these histories exist out there in different places, but you're absolutely right, Councilmember Clark. What we don't have is a comprehensive index or a way to really get to it. And for the novice who's trying to navigate through this, for a native Winston-Salem, it's hard enough. But for somebody coming into our community, it's hard to pull that together. I'm optimistic that, particularly with the technologies that are available today that were not available when our parents lived, for example, to record this stuff and have those voices and photographs and pictures and videos available for posterity while we can capture them is incredibly important. So I'm hoping you'll work with the Historic Resources Commission. Obviously, he's doing some work on it as well within the city government, but it's a great initiative, and I certainly support that.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? You have the honor. Need a motion?
Well, I make a motion that we approve this initiative.
Let's get the magic button.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be accepted. All those in favor, please vote. Congratulations. Good work. That is the end of our agenda, but we have some folks here that want to speak, and if it's okay, I will entertain that. Bishop Mack, if you will please come to the podium and state your name, your address.
Thank you. Good evening. And it's so good to see everyone. My name is Sir Walter Mack. I pastor Union Baptist Church at 1200 North Trey Street, on property at 2905 Barnard Avenue. And glad to be able to come and share. We are here today to say that, first, I want to say to Councilwoman Dee Dee Adams and to Annette Scipio and to Mayor Pro Tem Burt, who is not here today. We stand with you. I was at the meeting on last night, and we're standing with you. Thank you, Mayor Jones, for allowing this opportunity as well. I just want to say that I wrote a letter to you all on February the 18th expressing our concern as a community about a name that is very derogatory and divisive to our community, and that is the name bearing our fair, the Dixie Classic Fair. This has been an issue before, and we have come together as a community. There are several people here today. We are African Americans, we are white, we are Asian, we are Hispanic, and we're standing together this time to say that that is a name that we're asking you as a council to consider renaming our fair to be more encompassing and embracing to us as a community, and coming up with something that represents the progression of our city. I grew up in this city. I grew up going to the Dixie Classic Fair. I love the fair. But in 1988 at Elon University, I had to do some research on the name Dixie, and I have not been to the Dixie Classic Fair since that time. And I would love to enjoy the fair in my own city, but I think that we need to be considerate of those of us who have history, and that name really offends a certain segment of our community. I'm going to ask those who are with me on today. We are in partnership with Love Out Loud, the union play that came to our city. We've come together, and we're standing strong, so I'm going to ask them to please stand, those who are here with that commission, and they're here today. And they may want to have some words if you all permit that, but if not, we're just asking that you please put this on our agenda so that we can discuss this further and move this along.
Thank you. Would the council, the committee entertain the other speakers, please? Please come up, and if you want to. If you don't, we're okay with that too. Give us your name and address. Thank you.
Good evening, my sisters and brothers. My name is Reverend Dr. Carl Manuel Jr. I serve as pastor of Burkhead United Methodist Church, 5250 Silas Creek Parkway. I live in the parsonage at 3231 Blenheim Place here in Winston-Salem. I want to applaud you for all of the work that you're doing. I have seen you attend the Ministers' Conference here in Winston-Salem. I serve as the vice chair of the Education Committee. I want to echo my bishop, because I've known him for a number of years when he was a student at Elon University. And I know he's an outstanding man because I brought him into the organization, one of the greatest organizations that God put here on this earth on the 5th day of January, 1911, from Indiana University, and that is Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity.
I knew you was going there. I knew you were
Incorporated.
going there.
Yeah. But on a serious note, this is not 1969. This is 2019. And when we look at our young people that are here, and I tell people wherever I go all over the city, the future of this city, the county, state, and nation lies in the hands of our young people. If things have changed in Washington, D.C., Raleigh, North Carolina, why can't we make a change here in this beautiful city, the twin city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina? We're in the season of Lent, so I think it's time that we need to search our hearts and our minds, and if something is not right, let's repent and let's start over and give the name of fair that everybody would feel comfortable going. And you can name it Winston-Salem, or you want to name it the Deacon Ram Fair, or whatever you want to name it. But I think the time has come that if we reel and if we are searching our hearts, let's pray about it. And we are leaving it up to you and this community to let's make a change. God bless you, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Rob Alexander. I live at 2253 Westover Drive in Ardmore. Thank you, Dan, for your representation. Over the years, I come to you today and make my comments as a resident of the city of Winston-Salem, a descendant of a Confederate infantryman and an elder in the Presbyterian Church in America, specifically Redeemer Presbyterian Church on Miller Street. My family has participated in the Dixie Classic Fair for the past 18 years as both residents and also contestants. We appreciate what the fair has to offer our fine city. But I also feel as if it is time for a refresh, where the fair looks forward instead of back. It faces the spirit of the present and the hope of the future instead of the past. It reflects the growing urban nature of our county. The farm-to-table fair, the new Winston Fairgrounds, something different than the Dixie Classic Fair. I also come to you as a descendant of a Confederate infantryman. Augustus Cruz fought bravely, but as a hired, trained Hessian soldier, he was fighting for his own rights, freedoms, and a better life in America, while repressing the rights of others. He must be remembered in that context. The ultimate cause he fought for was not noble. In fact, it was immoral. Enriching the fortunes of some by enslaving and impoverishing the lives of others. This Dixie is not to be glorified and needs to be remembered for what it was. The oppression and enslavement of men and women to enrich the business owners as a mechanism of capital production. Let's be honest and remember Dixie this way, not cleaned up and emblazoned with a new font and logo on our local fairgrounds. Finally, I come to you as an elder in the Presbyterian Church in America and as a fellow believer supporting other believers in our city, specifically at the call of Bishop Mack today. My denomination has publicly repented for its lack of involvement in the civil rights movement of black brothers and sisters in the latter part of the 20th century. Not only are we thinking differently about this, but we are acting differently as well. We have pledged to not let history repeat itself. So when my black brothers and sisters point out injustice and oppression in our city, I will be present. Because when they suffer, we all suffer. When injustice exists for some, it is present for all. My friends and fellow leaders of this great city, it continues to be a time of change in Winston-Salem, and I applaud the efforts of this council, especially in taking the bold and brave step of removing the Confederate monument here in our city. Let this name of our collective fairgrounds be something that we can all live with and participate in. Changing the name of our fairgrounds is something we can and should do together. I'm grateful for this council's leadership in these matters. Let us continue to put the past in its place and face the future together, not as East Winston or West Salem, but as one city, Winston-Salem. Thank you for your understanding.
Thank you. Does any of the committee, anyone has any commentary or anything? Councilmember Bessie.
Yeah, I had a question. Gentlemen, particularly Bishop Mack, you indicated that you'd done research at Elon on this matter. One of the things that I think was most important about the public debate surrounding the removal of the Confederate statute was a detailed exploration of the actual history of its construction, the context in which it was put up, because there were, as always, were competing narratives about what it was intended to represent. The narrative that I think ultimately held the most power locally was the one that was supported by historical evidence. Have you prepared a written account of the history of the name's use here that would be educational in this context? If not, would you undertake to prepare one?
Yes, we have some research.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have done some research on the name Dixie. It does represent the southern states that fought to hold on to slavery. Some believe that it is related to the state of Louisiana, and they used the Dix bills, which was a $10 bill that was used, and also some have related that to being the bills that were used to purchase slaves. So that in turn becomes another insult to that. Also, the song Dixie cannot even be sung today at the University of Mississippi because of its derogatory language or its suggestion of picking cotton. So all of these things gives way to us looking at a more positive name. Now, we did have a meeting, and it was a great meeting, and we gave up some names and offered some names of suggestions, like Twin City Classic Fair, Winston-Salem Classic Fair. One of the names came from a little 5-year-old girl who was at the meeting, and she called it the Winston-Salem Fun Fair, and which, you know, for her that was something really nice. But we can do some more research on some other names that we could offer to you if that's what you're requesting.
Actually, I was interested more in the context of the use of the name Dixie in
How it got titled our fair.
Titled this fair.
When did our fair get titled that?
And what discussion was there? Was there explicit discussion of remembering the Confederacy or anything like that that would be specific to this?
Absolutely. Yeah. What our history just shows is that there was just a name change, and the fair in Winston has taken on several names. It was just simply a name change, and I believe that it was a director that just simply called it the Dixie Classic Fair to incorporate a broader region, just other than Winston-Salem. So I believe it was more related to that.
Okay. Do we know when? I'm sure someone knows when that name change took place.
It's 63 years old. The name is 63 years old. So it was in 54, somewhere in that era there. Yeah, in that year. The name is 63 years old. We've been bearing that name for 63 years.
Thank you. Councilmember Clark.
Yeah. Just to staff, I think it would be helpful, and I think you can Google this pretty quick. Everything's on the internet. The history of the name Dixie. But if the staff could also research the history of the fair. I don't know if it started 63 years ago or if it changed its name 63 years ago, but I think our staff can research that. And also some information on the names of the other fairs in the state. The only other one I know about is the North Carolina State Fair. I mean, kind of what hits my mind is the Winston-Salem Fair. I mean, that's very original, but it would kind of be interesting if other cities have it. You know, the origins of the fair is agricultural, and there's still remnants of that in there. And so I think our fair does appeal to those folks, particularly in the rural counties, probably west and south of us, because we still have the animals and this, that, and the other. But and the fairs normally in the fall is a harvest type thing for a lot of what fairs do. But anyway, I think the staff can get us some research there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And Bishop Mack, in his letter to us, Councilmember Bessie, did include quite a bit of that history on the derivation of the word Dixie and what some of the background meanings of that. So that letter did go into it a little bit of detail. I want to say how much I appreciate Bishop Mack and the other folks who have spoken today. Been a lot of work on this, and hopefully we can ask staff, Madam Chairman, to delve into this, look at the whole issues of the change and what it might take to do it and what might be the implications. And I love some of those names. I mean, to me, keeping the word classic in there kind of keeps our brand out there, but maybe we just retitle it the Winston-Salem Classic or something of that nature. But I appreciate your leadership, Bishop Mack.
Yes, bless you. Yes, but it is a great history to read. There was another fair, the Carolina Fair, which was deemed the black fair in the city, and they did away with that in the 70s, and then it merged over into the Dixie Classic Fair. So it's a good history to read. So
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you.
Any other questions,
Thank you.
comments? Councilmember Larson.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating and an opportunity maybe for rebranding ourselves as we look at that, but I do think we need to have a thorough understanding of the history of the fair itself and the merger of the two fairs and sort of the background of all of this. We do have a fair committee, I believe, that is involved on branding and marketing and those issues, and perhaps they would be a good place to start to have us a recommendation back to this board on some way.
Again, thank you, Bishop Mack, and all of you that have come today. I was born and raised in this city myself. I remember when there was a black fair, and it wasn't black, they called it the Color Folks Fair. And the Dixie Classic Fair, which was always, I think as we go through the city and we're trying to make sure we don't divide our city, that we're always building on diversity but inclusiveness, a purposeful inclusiveness. When you go to the fair, it is in the North Ward. I have discussed with people that all my life, the week of the fair, if it's not raining those set 14 days, you can't get through there. I mean, the amount of people, I think we have one of the second largest fairs in the Southeast.
That's right.
I've also mentioned to Bishop Mack in conversation that, you know, just like we said, we have a process. And I know everybody doesn't sometimes like process, but it is the way it is. It keeps order and it keeps consistency. So the city manager, the city attorney, and staff, it's been suggested and directed that you research the history of our fair, the beginnings, if you can take us back to the initial beginning of the Colored Folks Fair and when it changed to the Carolina Fair. And then you always had the Dixie Classic Fair the week before, the week after the Colored Folks Fair. I need you to find out the actual documented history of who was the person, directors that changed the name, what were other names before it. Do some very deep detail dive of the history. I also mentioned to Bishop Mack that so far as the name changing is concerned, I have no issue with Love Out Loud and others providing us a name, but we also need to make sure the citizens as a whole have the same opportunity. That just like how we do things, we do vis-a-vis surveys, what do you want to name this, City of Arts Innovation, everybody, if we're going to be inclusive, we got to be inclusive. So I need you to look at that with marketing and staff. How do we go about doing that to at least give people an opportunity to weigh in on this with their participation. I also need to bring, when you get the information together and construct the resolution or whatever of how we're going to do this, the action plan, that it comes back to committee for the committee and the council to review. Okay? Yes, sir.
I would add, and I think it was mentioned, that I think staff can work with the Public Assembly Facilities Commission and the Fair Planning Committee.
Correct.
And there may be the opportunity to use this as a branding effort to expand the market share of the fair.
I agree. I agree. There was one more thing. That's what happens when you start to get young again. You forget things. Again, make sure that we've done all of our due diligence. Again, as we know, the process is involving whatever commissions or boards that are connected. That's part of their responsibility as to how they can have a vital part in the going forward of this initiative. Okay? All right. Thank you, Bishop Mack. Thank you all for bringing this important issue to us this afternoon, and more to come. Is there any other comments or concerns of the committee? Excuse me.
So Public Works meet on time at 6. I don't have any excuse for being late.
No, you don't.
Oh, not today.
Thank you again, everybody.